Today, you will see that you're in for a treat. I'm not alone in the studio. I am joined by Christopher Topher Townsend. He's a #1 Billboard artist, conservative TikTok star, and an Air Force veteran, and he's up to some pretty good things. So welcome, Topher.
What's going on, Rebecca?
Okay, I'm going to start there because I already gave it up to you earlier, is the fact that I was talking about your nickname, which is Topher, or I guess what people call you. And your name's Christopher Townsend to my husband. And I said, I wonder why he's called Topher. And I got that look like, are we really having this conversation, Rebecca? Because Topher is actually in Christopher, if you look at it that way. So I thought, okay, this has to be like a childhood thing that came from childhood. So let's start there. How did you become Topher?
Because, well, at first I went by Young Wiz. Don't go look that up. It's past life. I went by Young Wiz early in my childhood, all the way up to college. And then I quit music when I joined the military at 20. And then before I got the military, I was going to go by, well, I didn't want to come up with a name that was too out there. So I wanted something that was more central to my actual name. So I was going to go by Chris Topher. But every time people saw that, they pronounced it as Christopher when I hit the stage, and I thought that was like, nah, this is not going to work. So I just dropped the Chris, and just went with Topher.
And it stuck.
Yeah.
And it completely stuck. Well, you know, I can't be the only one that was like, well, I love it, but where did it come from? And then have that moment. I have blonde moments all the time here on Good Things Topher. But I think it's working for you, and obviously it all came together. So let's go back when you first started music, because right now that's what you are obviously focused on is your music career and all the places it's taken you. So before you found yourself serving our country and the Air Force, when did you first get interested in music?
I remember very vividly my father is Little Willie Farmer. Don't know if you ever heard of him in Mississippi. He's from Duck Hill, Mississippi. He's a blues singer and guitarist. Really great artist.
Yeah.
Just hasn't got out there like me. Yeah, so I got my musical abilities from him. And around 5, I know they put a guitar in my hand. I didn't like it, and I realized early I couldn't sing. So I still wanted to do something involved in music. The next best thing was to rap. So I ended up rapping, and here we are.
Here we are. Well, that takes, you say you can't sing, but maybe you can't do the ballads like some of the other artists. But I would say rapping has a whole nother level of, skill that comes with it than just sort of singing. Okay, so that puts you back. I saw your birthday, which is coming up and significant, which is 2/22/22, but you were born 2/22/91, I think. So that puts you how old?
31.
You're 31. Okay, you're not far behind Rhino and I. So who were your rappers that influenced you growing up? I bet we share the same.
Will Smith, Kanye West, Ludacris. Man, who else? I was big on 50 Cent, but my biggest contributor was Eminem.
Yeah.
So because of my childhood, how I grew up, I resonated a lot with his message. Because they say you can't really be angry at your mom, despite how bad she is or your situations. I used to be like, man, how do I air these frustrations of growing up in these conditions when I feel like she has a lot of control? So Eminem resonated a lot with me, and I saw how he was able to express himself. So I learned from that and just never stopped.
Eminem got me through my first marathon training. Do you know how angry you can get on a 20-mile run, Topher? And so having his record, I guess back then on your iPod, was one of the things I look forward to. I could count the miles on the different songs, which is so funny because I would assume you and I, although we both grew up in Mississippi, probably came from completely different backgrounds and circumstances, but something like the lyrics in a song can resonate with you, even in a rap song from Eminem, can resonate you in a completely different way, but yet still be impactful and powerful. So you grew up, hometown is Kilmichael, Mississippi, right, Topher?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so for those of us who don't know our geography, where are you? Where are you on the map?
I would say more northern. So if anyone's familiar with Winona, Grenada, Mississippi, it's right around there. So we're in between Winona and Eupora, Mississippi on Highway 82. So if you head into Starkville, Mississippi for a Mississippi State game, you're going to hit 82 probably. You're going to pass right by us. Just a fun fact, B.B. King grew up in Kilmichael, Mississippi.
Fun, yeah.
And Phelan Lou Hamer, who's also a civil rights suffragist, and she is from Winona, Mississippi. She grew up in the same area, so we have some pretty infamous people from that area.
Okay, so you about 20 years old. I guess you had graduated high school. You were still into music. That was obviously a love, but you felt the call into service, and you chose the Air Force. What led you to that decision, Topher?
I remember having a talk with my then girlfriend, now wife, in college about how do you know what God is leading you to do or He wants you to do. And she said, He'll give you a feeling that you just can't shake. And one of the feelings I couldn't shake was joining the military. I didn't understand why I needed to go, right? It's just something that I felt like I needed to do. I didn't grow up with a father or anything like that, so I didn't have the discipline to... I'm telling you, I didn't go to school. I was in college, but I wasn't in college.
That's okay. I feel like a lot of people probably connect with that, Topher, my husband being one of them.
I was in college, but not there. So I was like, let me go do something productive and get some discipline. And so I joined. And one of the reasons I felt like I joined was to get me away from my environment. Because if not, I would just stay around the same people and never really saw the world from a bigger picture. And when I did that, I was able to connect and see a different side of people. Especially when it came to, how I grew up, we just kind of hung around people that look like you. So me being black, we just hung out with black folks and, the reputations, and it was kind of dangerous to kind of go out there and venture. So I didn't really have friends of the opposite race. But when I joined the military, you kind of have no choice, right? But we learned to appreciate each other outside of just our skin color. That's the last thing that we was worried about in the military. You got other priorities above that. And because of that, I was able to see that we just all really pretty much want the same thing, to be able to protect our family, to live how we want to live, unbothered and stuff like that. So I think that is why I have the perspective I have in the music today. And it gave me the discipline to be an independent artist and do it to the scale that I'm doing it now.
When you came back home from serving in the Air Force, I mean, you had to be obviously you weren't Topher yet. You were still Christopher Townsend, but you had to be a different person. Were you just unable to maybe go back home? I mean, because you wound up, you and your wife and your two lovely daughters live in Philadelphia now. How did you make the transition to Philadelphia?
She's from Philadelphia.
Oh, well, she'll do that, yeah.
Yes. If the missus wants to go home, she goes home, and you just follow along. So I didn't have any cause about it because I grew up in Kilmichael, which is even smaller than Philadelphia. So I'm just like, it's still an upgrade to me. So I like the small town, slow life. I don't like to be in a big city that long. I like to go visit them, but I don't like to stay there.
Were you still dabbling in your art and your music while you were in the Air Force, Topher?
It was later in my career. I stopped doing music. And one of the reasons I stopped is because I felt like I wasn't successful, and that's maybe what God didn't want me to do. Wrong mindset to have at that time, because my lack of success was not due to my talent. It was due to my understanding of the music business. So once I learned, when I was in the military, got out, and I got back into music, I started to learn more about the business side, and that's what led me to where I am today, is knowing how to, distribute your own music and starting to do a lot of stuff myself to save me money, such as I do a lot of my own graphic art, a lot of my promotional videos, edit some of my music videos, run my social media, create my marketing campaigns.
You also found your voice, though. You found a platform and a voice and lyrics and topics that really connect and resonate with your listeners. You are very patriotic. You're a conservative TikTok star. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. Was there a shift in that for you? Like, was there an automatic turning of the key that you knew, like, this is the message God wanted you to, or did you slowly dabble in that and realize that people were connecting to the message?
So I became a conservative TikTok star before I became a big Topher conservative artist. One of the things I did on TikTok was I saw people talk about politics, but they kept the same narrative, and it was all bent toward a certain, spectrum of the political side. And I said, I remember being a kid in high school. I don't remember any conservative black guys coming to tell us how successful we can be. All we heard was what we couldn't do. You're going to be this, going to be targeted like that. And I said, I didn't want the next generation to only hear that. I want them to know that people like me, despite whatever they're saying, are finding success in this country, and it has more to do with your mindset than it has to do with your skin color.
And I think that's a great place to pause. You guys stick with us. We got more with Topher coming up next here on Good Things. If you're over at SuperTalkTV.com, you'll see we're finding out more about Christopher Topher Townsend. He's a #1 Billboard artist, conservative TikTok star, and Air Force veteran. But the best part is he is a Mississippi boy through and through. Okay, the TikTok star. You are the second guest we've had on Good Things recently that TikTok literally changed the trajectory of their life and sort of their career. So was this a platform you just happened to stumble into, or were you very direct when you figured out kind of the music business that maybe TikTok was a platform you could finally get heard, or how did the TikTok thing happen?
So I remember hearing about TikTok. We was at a YouTube conference somewhere in Anaheim, California. I think it was 2019. I was there for my job at Malaco Records here in Jackson, and everyone was just doing random stuff. It was weird because I now what TikTok was. It's like people just running in places and freezing and stuff. I was like, am I am I the one that's wrong here? And then it's like, no, they're TikTok now. I said, what the heck is TikTok? So one of the guys, he showed what TikTok was, and I was like, okay. I looked at it, not something I felt like I would be interested in. So I just dropped it to the side, and then Andy Mineo had a contest with his song Coming In Hot, and I think Will Smith used that song for his first TikTok video. So he had a Coming In Hot contest, and at the time I was doing green screen videos that I would edit for fun, and I wanted to do that so I can kind of get some recognition from Andy, because I like Andy. He's one of my top artists when it comes to rappers, Christian hip hop. Mm-hmm. And I posted the video on TikTok. I ain't know what hashtags was or nothing. I just posted to TikTok, and that was it. And I got off of it. Then I said, okay, this might not be so bad. Let me try something else. Because on Instagram, my videos didn't do as well. So I figured, let me post some more of my fun stuff over here. And I had a video, I think it was me making fun of Space Force, which is named my hip-hop veteran group, with me, the Marine rapper, and D-Cure. And, Space Force had just been formed by President Trump. So I was like, I would pretend to be a veteran washing dishes. And I said, on the TV, it said, we're going to now create the Space Force, right? And then as a veteran, you get super excited because, I get to go to space as a nerding out. So that's when I went up on some clothes. But that video ended up doing almost 1 million views.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yo, this is, this ain't half bad. So I kept going for a little bit until I saw some political content. And I was like, I didn't see anybody else that was opposing it. It was just that content. I was like, this ain't right. So I decided to say something because it was just completely wrong. I posted that video, got a few comments, and I didn't get a typical, I won't say the responses I typically got. So if I post something on Facebook, being my family and friends who may share opposite opinions of me, it would always be like, shut up, stop talking about this, yada, yada, yada. But when I posted to TikTok, it was kind of like, yo, yeah, that's right on, cool. I ain't think about it that way. So I was like, this may be a little bit more receptive audience. So I just continued down that path. And then next thing you know, I was like one of the biggest faces when it came to conservatives on TikTok, specifically politically. And I encourage a lot of people to come up and speak on their beliefs.
I was going to ask, where do you get your courage to do that? I mean, because I feel like, there's a lot who have strong opinions one way or the other. I mean, typically here on Good Things, we're not going to dive into those specific topics because we are politics free. But I find it cool that you had the courage to at least stand up for what you believe in, through and through, whether you were going to get censored, which I know is a big problem for you right now with your work, Topher, through different platforms for being conservative. But still, you don't change. I mean, you stay true to your convictions.
Main reason I started that was, with going forward during the censorship is I saw AOC. I said, we can have AOC comparing women to dogs, and she's elected to Congress, and she's not afraid to share her opinions. Why in the heck I'm afraid? It's kind of like because of her disaster, I was like, why am I afraid to talk about things that are factually based and it's going to be actually productive to anybody that listens? So that's actually what gave me the confidence to say, I'm speaking my mind regardless. So I spoke my mind, And the more I did it, the more I realized that people needed to see that, because more black people, unfortunately, we predominantly vote Democratic. And it's just a thing we do. It's not based in reality. It's not based on policies. It's just based on the fact that we vote Democrat. So I was like, we need to talk about these things instead of just going along with the status quo. And yeah.
And just at least having a conversation and having an opinion of your own instead of someone giving you your own opinion, I think is what I appreciate a lot about your work, Topher. And you took that same message and you turned it into your work. I know The Patriot is one. It's either your album or a song that got you notoriety in the beginning. And then two, which led you to your single that made it on the movie, A Journal for Jordan. So which came first, The Patriot or I Left Home? I Left Home. Is the name of it.
I Left My Home.
I Left My Home. Yeah, I was going to get it right. So which one came first?
The Patriot came first.
The Patriot came first. And that is a collaboration too, correct? Or is that just your song?
It's me, the Marine rapper, and we had another veteran who produced the track, Killer Vic.
So is it different? Does it give you a different sense of validation, or I guess pride, when people connect to your music just the same as they connect to your spoken message? Like when you do a video, you talk about whatever it may be, but then you actually take your art and you put it into, your rapping or your art, and then people really play it. They play it at different events. They use it as their own anthems. I mean, that's got to be something to be proud of.
It is. I recently made a tweet saying that, I might not be played at the clubs or parties, but, we have Canadians up there and the truckers who are fighting for their freedoms, and they're not playing Cardi B or Lil Baby or The Baby. They're playing Topher. They're playing the Marine rapper. So if my music can be for important issues when it comes to civil rights, then that's a win for me, whether it's played on the radio or not.
Another big win, though, is the fact that your song got in a movie. I Left My Home. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I love how it ended up, because you didn't go searching out Hollywood. Hollywood came searching out Topher. And so walk us through that. How did you find out that I Left for Home would be a part of the movie A Journal for Jordan?
So I was actually getting ready to hit the stage in Florida, and I got an email saying, hey, this is the, Sony producer, and Denzel Washington's getting ready to release a movie called A Journal for Jordan, and we noticed that he sung your song in a movie, and we want to get rights for it, right? And I was like, first of all, just Denzel, all these big names coming up, and I was like, wait a minute, are we talking about the same thing? And I get real giddy. I don't know about you, but
absolutely I would.
I was like, man, a legend. And so then I was like,
know my name.
I don't know if this is spam or not. So I went and performed. Came back, had a conversation with the boys, and they also got the same email too. And that's when we found out it was legit. But they reached out to us, and that's why I tell people all the time too is you got to put your music out there, because you never know how it's going to be used or when it's going to be used. But it was amazing feeling. The movie was fantastic. Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job, I think.
I can't watch it because I cry thinking about it. I cry thinking about the fact that he sings your song to his little boy, which is I Left My Home, and it goes into talking about for the Army. And when I was listening to your song earlier on YouTube, which Bob in Summit texted in and said, I'm not familiar with TikTok, so how can I listen to Topher? You can find him on his website. We'll give you all the places, as well as find his music on YouTube. But I started crying then, and I was thinking, I'm not going to make it through the movie, but I do know that it's a wonderful movie.
Yeah, it's Denzel, just like he had his movie Fences, is very targeted audience. It's not a broad audience thing like Marvel movies typically are. So it's one of those things where it might not do as well, but the message and the writing in there is always solid. So I will always enjoy those type of movies.
And the fact now you have your foot in the door with that, and it kind of happened. It was another sort of a God wink, in my opinion, Topher, that they came and found you and your message. And even though you've been struggling with censorship through other avenues, it's like when your message has true meaning from a good, authentic place, then it finds its way right out, and then other people want to share that. David wants to share that too. He wants you to give your social media links, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You're getting some new followers today, Topher.
I appreciate it. You can find me on any platform under Topher Town Music. TOPHERTOWN Music. Any platform, or you can go to my website, tophertown.com.
Yep, and you got new music that's coming out, as well as you have an event that's coming up here in Central Mississippi. So we're going to let you know all of that and more with Topher coming up next. And this is him going out, if you want to hear Topher. And if you're wondering about the music today, it's from our guest, Topher, who's in the studio. You can see him over at SuperTalkTV.com. He is a Billboard-topping hip-hop artist. He's a conservative TikTok star. He's a Mississippi homeboy, and he's up to good things. And I think so many of us are grateful to get to know you a little bit more today, Topher. And if they really want to get out and see you and support you, you've got an event coming up here in Jackson. I think it's maybe in May, so maybe a little bit further away. But you've got new music that's dropping on your birthday, which is 2/22/22, which I think is pretty cool. So you'll be, what, 32?
31.
Oh, 30. You'll be 31 this year. Oh, man, 1 year off of being Tuesday on 2/22/22 to be 32. But that's okay. We'll give you that one.
No. Actually, it's 3 plus 1, which is 4 divided by 2 is 2.
I like it. You win. You won. You found it. Okay. You've been working on this for a long time. So is this a full-length album? Tell us what's coming out 2/22.
Yeah, so full-length album is going to be 8 to 9 tracks. Haven't decided if I want to put this last one on there or not. I've debated if I should put 20 songs on it, and I said I release tracks every month anyway. So what's the point of me trying to put a whole bunch on here when you're going to get new music from me, within the next 2 weeks? Right. So I'm just going to give a good 8, 9 songs. The direction of this album changed after my lyrics, not even the word, not the music, but the lyrics for my song Let's Go Brandon were banned from Genius.com. Just the lyrics. I don't have no cussing, anything in it, nothing. Just the lyrics were banned. I've never had any. I didn't even know people did this. So I was like, nope. I was gonna be more happy too, but I was like, clearly I have to continue to talk about some things that support until we can shift culture at least a little bit.
So there you go. One of our longtime listeners, Matthew the Bagpiper from Hattiesburg, said, if you need a bagpiper, let him know if you want to add a little spice to your rapping, which I appreciate the fact that, again, we were talking during the break, Topher, that, rapping is a medium in which to share your message. You don't every rapper doesn't have to necessarily go in the direction of mainstream. Right. There are rappers who are making a living and successful as Christian rappers. There are rappers who are doing it, in other ways. And you've just chosen that particular medium as your way of getting out your artful, sort of message. In the beginning, did anyone say it wouldn't work, or have you always just had your eye on the Topher Prize?
No one told me personally it wouldn't work. It's just one of the things that is not going to work, right? It's like, oh, yeah, it's just like kind of being in the NBA. It's like, I'm 5'6". Yeah, probably not, sir. Unless it's just some super duper talented person, which is, Spuddy Webb's the only person I know is about 5'6" that did it. So it's like, it's just not going to happen. I remember Bryson, he always talked about his mom because he did, before he did political music or conservative music, he did some other secular music. And when he switched over, his mom was like, how dare you? No one's going to buy your stuff. No one's going to play it. You're not going to be successful. You just tank your career. And he's having more success than he ever would have had if he continue down that direction. So it's go with what you feel is right. That's why I encourage people is like, you know what God is telling you. And you can recognize those signs, so just follow those. You
also said define what success is before you get started. If you're going to do something, maybe, not with the status quo. Mm-hmm. What was success for Topher in the beginning when you started your music career? I mean, you have a wife and 2 kids too, so. Just
sustaining my family and having a nice life. I've always, coming from poverty, I want to get as far away from it as possible, right? So, I said, hey, if I know I can get 1,000 fans to spend $100 with me each, that's 6 figures. So my goal for the longest was like just make 6 figures, which is I doubt you say it's not good income. I'm not saying that. You won't hear me or Rhino deny that at all here on Good Things, yeah. So that was my goal. It's like make 6 figures and you good. I didn't have a goal, maybe get a Grammy. But, now I understand how those things are given out and it's all political. Even though they say don't be political, everything they do up there is political. So I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get a Grammy. but they can't stop me from getting billboards, which is still the next level, top tier. So I was like, yeah, let me just focus on billboards then.
Do you get other rappers or people in your, I guess in your field, if that's the right word, that reach out and have acknowledged maybe, that you wouldn't have recognized? Obviously, you've got the recognition from Denzel and doing a journal for Jordan, but I'm just curious if others haven't sort of tipped their hat, even though you're not in the mainstream kind of way of rapping.
Nobody. I know, and I know people are watching me, right? Because if you Google Mississippi rapper, you're gonna see Topher. And you're gonna see Topher. Topher is on the artist right now with a #1 Billboard over a year now. I have 3 Billboard singles last year alone. So it's like I got millions of followers. You've heard of Topher, right? And no one has said anything. They haven't liked or come in and said keep going. And I get it, right? Because it's like I don't agree with this dude, but I've made music with people that I don't even ask their political affiliation. Like when we did I Left My Home, the whole goal was like, we're not finna talk politics. We're just gonna make a song about the military. That's what it's about. That's what we did. MJ Hanks might not share everything I believe, but that's not the point of music all the time. I got an album or a song on my upcoming album, 222, called Tel Aviv. And it's a node to my Israeli friends, because, I learned Hebrew when I was in the military. So it's a bilingual song. And the artist on there singing, before we sat down for a finished song, she's like, I am like complete opposite of you. And I just want to know, is that okay with you? I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't care. I said, to me, I don't care. Because you have the right to believe what you believe. But the problem with what I'm speaking out is now is that we don't have the right to believe what we want to believe, because we're getting censored. We're getting told to shut up. So that's why we're fighting and talking about the things we're talking about. But if everyone can allow bygones to be bygones, music should just be 2 talented people or a group of people coming together to make something great.
Right, and then allowing the person or whoever it is just to have the conversation. I think we've lost the opportunity just to have conversations without it having to be so charged up and like there has to be agenda. Sometimes there's not an agenda. Sometimes you just like the song and you really don't care anything about the artist, to be honest. I'm the worst at music trivia, Topher. So, I mean, for me, if I like it, it really is just because whatever you were saying or spoke to me or the beat or whatever it may be. And that's in sort of in all genres of music. Well, I feel like you probably, definitely struck a chord with a lot of our Good Things listeners today. I know it's a little bit later in May, so hopefully we'll get you back here before then. But what can we go ahead and put on our calendar in terms of seeing you in person if we want to do that?
So right now I have a show in Texas, which, that's not here in Mississippi. But my earliest show in Mississippi will be for Jackson Fest. And I'll be performing that Friday for Memorial Day weekend. So come on out. I believe I'm at 3 p.m. So if you want to come up there, I'll probably hang out the entire weekend just to kind of see everybody. I have a booth, so you come grab some of my merch and items. But that's pretty much it. You can follow me on social media. I'll be doing a lot more live content because I've been kind of in the dungeon as I finish up this album. And kind of just staying away from social media so I can kind of just give you guys my thoughts on everything. And it's been great. So I was supposed to have the pre-orders up today so I can tell you guys, yeah, definitely go check it out. Wasn't able to do it because I lost my voice a couple of days ago. Just now getting it back. So I'm going to wrap everything up hopefully by this weekend. And, okay, so you're a family guy, too. You've got 2 beautiful daughters, a 16-year-old and a 2-year-old like myself. How do you... 6-year-old. Sorry, not 16. 6-year-old and then the 2-year-old. How much is your work important to, for your family? Extremely important.
Your message specifically, I think, is what I meant.
One of the reasons I do what I do is because I want my kids to grow up I remember when I was a kid, and we had family or neighbors, and we didn't have to worry about locking doors. We didn't have to worry about all the craziness of recognizing, call somebody a he when they're she. We just craziness that we didn't have to deal with as kids. We was able to just live, but we don't get to do that anymore. And I just want to kind of get America back to those values that allow us to have those relationships and our kids to live at peace. And if I don't speak now, I feel like I'll fail them, like my daughters. It's like I want them to look back over history and say, hey, Dad, what were you doing when the country was just going down the drain. I was like, well, I was out speaking up against it.
You were using your gifts and talents for the message in which, because you don't want me rapping. I mean, we all we all have our different sort of lanes and way to do that. But I have to say, you're pretty darn talented for someone who doesn't have a whole lot of rap on their whatever. I definitely have enjoyed listening to your music, and I know we've all enjoyed getting to know you, Topher. So it's Topher's Town Music.
Yeah.
On all the places.
Any place you can find Topher Town Music, or you can visit my website, tophertown.com.
And that will be where we can get your 2/22/22 album when it drops. I feel like you're going to be back on SuperTalk. This is just your warm-up round, Topher. It's been so much fun, though. Thank you for your time.
Yes, appreciate it, Becca.
All righty, stick with us. We've got Tasty Tuesday for you coming up next.